You know, it's interesting looking at the dragonflies there, the different colors, and watching them come back. I think most of us, including me, don't spend enough time to look at things and spend time in observation. You know, you go quickly past something and ignore it. I remember my neighbor was saying to me, gee, we have all these things around, but how come I never see them? Well, I guess you don't show that interest like I do when I go on travels. That people have to keep remembering, which is hard for me sometimes, that everybody has his own little niche. Maybe I don't have a big piece of the pie, but I have some tiny, tiny little niche in this world, and everybody has one in his own field of endeavor. I mean, I happen to be in the arts, and thank goodness through hard work and luck and everything the way it worked, I was able to do what I have. It wasn't always easy, and I'm sure no one has it easy. There might be a few people in life, they look at and think, oh, well, look, they're a star overnight, but they don't think about the 10 years prior to that they struggled and this, that, and the other thing. And the good Lord has been good to some people. He blesses some people with talents, play the piano, do this, and I'm saying, boy, wouldn't I love to be so-and-so sitting down and playing this beautiful music? And I said, boy, he's got everything. And then he's probably looking at someone else and said, gee, I wish I could express myself like he can. So we have to sort of balance it, and every once in a while, I think, which I don't do enough, is sit down and smell the roses. I always feel the future for artists will always be here, because there'll always be some people that want to be able to express themselves and being able to have the freedom that you do have, as long as they don't take that freedom away. And that's why I'm here in America, and an American is because we still have that freedom of expression and being able to do what you want. And believe me, if you want to enjoy a career in painting, it really pays off. Maybe not always financially, but in so many other ways that you really don't appreciate when you're in it. And I think painters will be around for centuries and centuries, and I think with the fact that automation comes and robots come and everything, and computers and everything is computerized, there'll still be those of us around that will be able to express themselves individually. And thank the Lord for that. I think for me, nature, I keep thinking back what my one youngster wrote in his school paper. He said he was a nature lover, and a nature boy, nature lover, and I think that's what I am. Ever since I went to school, and in my European school, it was being out in nature a lot, looking for ideas, looking for flora to sketch and paint. So I got acquainted with spending a lot of time around brooks, lakes, and when the opportunity arose to come out here and put a lake on the property, and having this property, I certainly chose it, and it gives me privacy, and it gives me peace, quiet, and something that I think you need. especially the way I spend so much time being an artist and don't devote as much time as maybe I should in other aspects of life. In other words, my life isn't always as well-rounded as it probably should be, but my wife puts up with it, and luckily she does. I don't know what would have happened if I would have had another wife who would want to go out and do socializing, because for me that would be certainly not a very good influence, because I'm constantly dependent on my time, and to me it's precious, and if I don't work, I feel guilty. As we mentioned before, I feel guilty because I feel that time should have been spent exploring something else or trying something different, or seeing how I could work a painting out that has a problem. And I hate to give up on a painting. I keep thinking, well, it must work. Some paintings, as you know, they seem to work smoothly from beginning to end, and others have obstacles to overcome. And these are challenges which are interesting, but at the same time cause some friction in your life, because you don't always go to bed even at nights feeling happy about things that are left on the drawing board, not accomplished and not worked on and corrected. There are different ways that people could apply Homer, there are different ways that people can apply the wax. The old Indonesian method or batik method, where you have the little tool, where you can make lines and different things. I've only done it this way, and found if it could work. You have to move this iron pretty quickly that you don't get big blobs on the paper. And let people see where. Keep in mind that this whole panel could be completely waxed with just a few drippings. There are some on here, and then you could go to town on, when it's cold enough here, the wax, and put lines in here, crack different. And way back when I worked for American Greetings, I used to get the old brushes. Then, you know, I used to save money that way by using some of the old brushes they used for paste up and stuff. This may not always be the color that I may want to use, but you can even put some of the paint in here and get. Now you could see what shapes are presenting themselves. These different shapes where I put wax in. And keep in mind, while you're doing this, you could change color. You know, you could, before you take the wax off, you could change this into different colors, not just the blue I have here. Trying to do anything that creates an interesting effect as far as I'm concerned. And since I work with many different types of cloth, non-woven cloth, each one creates a little bit different effect. First. Just from that alone, but it takes a while to adjust the different ones. Sometimes they stay wet for a long time, which is good when you have a normal watercolor paper. You know, you like to keep things going moist for a long time rather than have it dry in a hurry. And that's the problem I face sometimes with the acrylic paint, is that when I get all my backgrounds done and I put a white daisy on top of this, my problem is that the daisy has hard edges. I mean, it's kind of hard to soften the edges like you can with a pastel or watercolor. You know, you could soften the edges on different things, and you sometimes get hard edges. Yeah, I might have an interesting painting yet. Keep this sort of neutral, otherwise you fill it up too much so that all you got is texture, which I sometimes do, and find myself struggling later on to simplify it. You know, you always have to have. I think that's been some of my problems in some of the things. You fill it up so much that you haven't any room for anything else. If I make a landscape and have all these different trees going, and then I have no room to put anything else in it, because it seems like I'm in a forest and I'm trying to add landscapes and stuff within the painting, especially lately I have. And I have to be careful that I leave enough room. I use newspapers, but you know what happens when you use wet, when it's still wet, you wind up with having the newspaper on there. Sometimes the newspaper sticks, you know, onto the artwork. Oh, did I still got that stuck in there. And here's the... And now you can see a little bit more definite things happen, you know, as you take the wax off there. There's still wax in these areas which were left from before, and I'm taking some of those off down here. People have to keep in mind, my problem with the paintings is that I don't start with any photograph that I work with. I start with strictly dripping the paint, cracking, and different things like that. And then later on, when I've gotten some interesting background, like take for instance this painting here was started, as you can see, I think this was actually the back of a painting that I had made before where the color creeped itself and came through, and so I actually got the start of something else. But here you see something that doesn't represent too much of anything at the moment. Now I proceed, once I've taken this wax off here, now I have to look at that and keep in mind what will happen to it. I wind up sometimes adding this. These could be interesting trees that get put in here as a beginning of something, you know, and then later on I may put something else up here. But I have to, little by little, keep in mind something that I want to do with them. Some of the backgrounds I do, you could read things into them right away, and others you have to struggle and hope they come out. Then another problem I have is how do I get interesting color, that not all of my paintings wind up to be one color. How do I get interesting warm and cool effects, as you see on this painting, which I find very interesting. But this now calls for a lot more detail involving all these little things, could be little branches here, all things that I put in. Now, once I've gotten to the point that this looks like a landscape or a wood landscape, I wind up saying to myself, what else should I put in? Should I put something cross here? Should this be an interesting log going through here, that can be used in the painting? And then what type of subject matter could I put in here? Since I'm a flower painter, what kind of flowers can I put in there? Should they be daisies, poppies, phlox, you name them? So that's a project that I have to spend time in analyzing. Here we have an example of something that's reaching a stage of being partly finished. You can see that here is where I drop my wax completely around to form a circle or a border here. And this was all waxed in to protect it from being color. Sometimes you wind up, this could have been all solid wax, and here you only have all these little drippings that you saw me put on before. And naturally, as I said before, where the color is where there was no wax. So all these little dark spots were waxed. And you can see my hands and finger work, they work also with brush and paint. If you get the right kind of wax, and how beautifully fine lines you can get and do something with. People don't realize the amount of hours that you put in this work to the point. Here's another one, you know, that, let's see what we get through. Good. Make it means something. Sometimes it doesn't always work, and you fight it and fight it. I think that in nature, if someone could only spend enough time and say this is like a botanist or someone who spends, and you see all the beauty that surrounds us, of which we don't even think of, and it's free. Yeah. We accept that it's there until you don't have it, like fresh air and the sunshine and stuff. Like today, for instance. One thing that I sort of missed lately is the clouds. Looking at clouds and watching them move and the different shapes. You can play around with the shapes in your mind. You stay within that interest that you've acquired through the years, and it takes a long time to shift into something else because you feel, well, I might not do that 100%. This is the unfortunate part of being a professional in what you do. You just don't dive in. Yep. If you're an amateur, you often see people paint, you say, how in the world did they take that complicated subject matter and do something with it? Because you know they're not going to get very far with it, but they go right into it and they start painting where you tread so softly and say, gee, I don't know if I can handle it. And it's interesting to see, and I think it's too bad that more people don't paint and have that as part of their life, considering what it gives to you. If you don't think of it in terms of making a living, that's a different phase, which is we can talk about. But at the moment of enjoying this, a lot of times people say weeds. But if you constantly look at these so-called weeds, they call it diversification of size, shape, color, and things, and I naturally look at things very often in silhouette. You know, I'm looking at the shape only. I don't very often look at only the detail very closely, but what does it have? Where the sun is and where the shadow is, the dark shadow and the light here, all those different parts. Sometimes the only thing that I wish at times I could be 6 people where I can delegate some of my thoughts to someone else who can carry them through. Because I always feel, and I'm sure all artists feel, that good painting, or they have not fully exploited their capabilities when the day comes when the good Lord takes you away. Yeah. And you say, gosh, look at all those ideas that I never got to. And I think that's something that, well, I know when my youngster passed on, he said, gee, and he had so much to do, and I feel today, and he was only 27, and I feel today at my age, there's so much I still would like to do, but as you get older, you sometimes don't have that gumption, or not gumption, the energy to stay up till 11 o'clock every night and keep painting and painting. And I think what I occasionally miss, which I said I talked to you before, is that connection with somebody who walks in the door and says, Bob, that's really something. That's where you should work towards, or something, and put you on another track for a moment and get you all enthused. When you work on your own, you have to constantly build up that enthusiasm. And you get down. I mean, this isn't always a sunny day, and we don't always have sunny days, but the sunshine days make up for the cloudy days when they do come. And you come up with something that you say, now, gee, did I really do that? And I look at this, and I don't think I'm aware of the beauty that surrounds me as often as I should. Because it's remarkable what nature has. And when you talk about people nowadays being aware of pollution and ruining of the environment and things like that, which years ago you didn't even think about. Painting the way I paint, I enjoy it. I think the one thing I really enjoy is textural things. I like texture. I like textures. I always have. And naturally, working with the waxes, cracking the waxes, and doing things like that gave me a certain amount of linear texture. But sponges, using all types of things to create a surface that isn't just flat. Now, you want some flat surfaces. You want some that are textured. You want some that are in between. So that alone gives you a variation. And it depends on, again, is this, then you talk about size. Is this a big section of texture? This is a little piece. This is a straight line. So all those things already help to create a painting of some kind. Where I find it difficult for me at times is that when you sit here and you're set up for a painting and you're just painting what's in front of you, you find it's a lot easier to say, look, does this painting look like what I see? But I, for instance, go into all these textures and stuff, and then sort of, when I'm through, I'm fighting this, where to put this, where to put that, and I wind up with a lot of background textures that are beautiful in themselves. So we have to sort of balance it, and every once in a while, I think, which I don't do enough, is sit down and smell the roses.
Is an artist who has taken the Amish testament to the way she feels about it. Is the pure and simple thing. Her paintings have become caring side Amish, the ability to really, she does it, her heart thoughts.
work, teach, paint, that everybody could look. In my just be excited and say, oh, that. And camping. That said, I go 13th summer. 13th summer. Canoe trips into the
her formative years of the earth in the lives of
a very strong and very, and my mom, and we had a one they ties, and I paint. Okay. don't wish my paintings that it is the simplest
was University here in Ohio. Taught science, completion of his tour, certified, was while teaching
into
to studio on the score in the attention.
gallery appearances.
One will be able to, if because we're going to let Diane.
But I use them like watered way down. About 19. And Spencer. Just oh, I'm going to have to fix that. Don't do the and you if after that I've gone try as a guide. Do it. Subject that I'm about to inspired by is concerned that center it's just you do the memories. And some deal with in high school and for that. Education degree. Yeah. Agree. Go to the formal classes. My own time. No. Most of it. The town of Millersburg. Born. I continue to pay salaries. Camera in my work. Which? When my is mine. Pain.